Well, breaking news. Annemiek Van Vleuten crashes out of the mixed relay. Now, the crash is not really what's being discussed all over the internet. What is being discussed is how did this accident happen? What caused it? And there seems to be a dozen different ideas of what caused this crash. So I'm going to do my analysis, so my version, my viewpoint, which may vary from others, and what I think potentially caused the accident, because without having the parts and the bits and pieces and being able to do a study and look at all those components and go through what happened, we don't really know. But my speculation or opinion on it, I'm going to give in this video. So let's roll that intro and let's have a bit of a talk about really what do I think potentially caused this accident coming out of this corner in this race. Well, just a bit of housekeeping, guys. I just want to let everyone know that I've signed up to Rumble and I'm now putting these videos onto Rumble as well. So if you like watching videos on a different platform than YouTube, and especially you want to watch them ad-free, you haven't got some way, you're not paying YouTube, or you haven't got some way of ad blocking, then if you jump over to Rumble, you can watch the videos ad-free. The ads are only at the beginning of the video, so then once you've watched them, and you get to see the whole video ad-free. So it's worth subscribing over there just to get that added level of watchability as a consumer. Well, anyway, getting back to this crash that happened. Now, there's a number of people who are speculating all sorts of things about what caused this accident. Now, I do think that it is a component failure. I don't believe that the rider, Annemiek, did anything inappropriate. She seemed pretty annoyed when she was on the deck. The guy who was assisting her must have said something to her, and you could see there was some anger that she replied back to that person. What that is, we don't know. We haven't got any audio around that. But what she did say on her Twitter account that the tire exploded. Now, the tire exploded on the front, so she must have felt that she lost traction on the front of the bike or on the back of the bike, but I would probably say she was talking about the front of the bike, because that's what she lost control. You could see the front wheel just started weaving all over the pavement, and then the bike was dropped, and then the bike hit the curb. Now, you could argue that some of the damage to the bike was from the curb. Then the bike laying on the ground was run over by the rider behind, and that rider could have also done some damage to the bike. So let's break it down and let's have a look at what really could have happened here. Now, the first thing that I want to say that it couldn't have been, the first thing is it couldn't have been the rear derailleur. Now, when we see the footage, we can see that the rear derailleur is hanging off the bike. It's completely broken off the bike. But if you look at the footage carefully, you can see that the rear rider rode over the bike right near the center of the rear wheel. So it's pretty likely that that rear rider in some way damaged or broke that rear derailleur off the bike. So I would discredit that as a cause, a previous cause to the bike locking up or whatever, or causing the accident. I do believe, from my opinion, that the rear derailleur was broken off when the second rider rode over the bike and broke that rear derailleur. So now let's go back to the tyre. Now, a lot of people have said, well, how can it be the tyre? Because if the tyre was coming off the rim, the sealant would have come out, you would be able to see it. And a lot of people have shown slow motion. They said you can't see any sealant coming away from the tyre. So therefore, how could the tyre have been exploded? There was no sealant. Well, I don't actually think the tyre exploded, but it may have felt to Annemiek that the tyre was exploding. So we can discredit that. The tyre didn't actually explode, even though the rider probably felt from riding the bike she had this massive loss of pressure in the front wheel. Now, the third thing that I've heard is people go, oh yeah, it was a drop chain, or the chain jammed up because she was changing from one cog to the other, and the chain jammed up, and that made her basically lose control of the bicycle and fall off. Now, there's two things here. First of all, these are very, very experienced riders. If that happened, it's a freewheeling mechanism. I don't think that would have caused her to crash. And two, you can see that she was soft pedaling. So you could see that when she was riding, something happened to the bike, and you could see she started to slow. She started to soft pedal, almost stop her pedaling. So she was aware that something was feeling quite different on the bike, and it couldn't have been a locked chain because her pedals were still turning. So I'm discrediting that out of the argument. There was no locked chain. There was no chain jam up that caused that. So that I'm going to remove from the argument. So then what the hell could it have been? We've just about, reduced any possible cause out of the argument. Well, this is where I think the problem's caused. And the reason why I say this, because we've seen a similar incident to this in the past. Now, I do believe that the rim itself failed. There was some crack or part in the rim, or maybe even the tape inside, allowed the pressure to quickly release in the tire. But it was on the inner side of the rim, towards the center of the hub, because we didn't see any sealant come out, because as the wheel's turning, the centrifugal force would have held the sealant on the most outside part of the tire, inside the tire. So unless the puncture was like a thorn or something going into the tire, then that sealant wouldn't have come out and gone everywhere. But if it was on the rim side, there was a crack in the rim, or the tape punctured in, dramatically, that was protecting the nipples that you use for tightening the spokes. Now, I'm not too sure if the zip wheels, the tubeless zip wheels, actually completely sealed. So if there is, then you can't blame the tape. But if it did have tape, the tape could have failed. We've seen this before. On George's video, George Vargas's video, he was having trouble with his rim, and it was the tape. So tape can give problems. So the history that I'm talking about here is Shane Miller had a crack in his rim. Now, okay, he hit a rock, but it did crack, and the rock wasn't that big, and it was a gravel bike with gravel tires. Now, I think that shows that there is some weakness in these rims, and that was the same rim. It was I'm pretty sure it was a zip rim. I think it might have been a 303, not a 404, but they're probably using the same technique to make the rims, the layups and everything like that. And my hypothesis of this situation was there was a crack developing, or a crack happened, and that caused a rapid deflation of the tire. Then, of course, she lost control of the bicycle, and then when it hit the curb, that smashed the wheel. The tire dislodged from that impact with the curb, and the sealant could be seen everywhere. The derailleur was broken because the rear rider rode over the bike, and we know that little hangers there, they're not that strong. If you rode a bike over the derailleur, it would definitely come apart, and that's what I reckon happened there. So I do believe, from the information we've got from Annemiek and watching the videos, my evaluation is that the rim, somehow the rim itself failed, or the rim tape failed, causing a significant depressurization of the tire, which caused the accident. Well, anyway, guys, if you've got your theory, that's Waynos' theory. If you've got your theory, then leave your comments down below, and you tell me, what do you reckon after watching that video? What's your hypothesis of what happened? Well, anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it, and that's my input to what caused the accident. And I'll see you next vid. And remember to subscribe on Rumble if you want less ads. Cheers.